Hey, hello, hi. What's going on, mediocre gamer fam? I'm gonna turn this down just a little bit because I'm very loud and that's disgusting. It is I, Anthony Elliott. I'm sitting down with one of my best friends in the world, AJ. AJ, how are things? How are you?
Howdy ho! I'm doing great. We're finally back after our few week break. Am I right? It feels good
Right.
to be back in the saddle. Besides that, it's just I've just been good during our break. Just we got things figured out, and I'm happy to be back and seeing our whole family again. How are you, Anthony?
The whole family. I'm good. I'm good. I'm fine. Everything's cool. Nothing really new going on. Just taking everything day by day as life is set up.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Well, today we have a few things to talk about. First of all,
Mm.
CES is currently going on actually as we're recording this. Um
Ooh.
we There's some really interesting stuff going on. Of course, there's plenty of tech, but this is a gaming podcast, and there's also some cool gaming stuff. I'd like to start off with Nvidia. What did you think about Nvidia's presentation?
That's how you pronounce it. I've always said Nvidia, but
Nvidia.
okay.
Oh,
Nvidia. I'm gonna try it.
it is Nvidia. I'm crazy. Oh my gosh, I've said that
No,
wrong
you're
my
not
whole life.
crazy. I mean, I guess I don't know. I've only heard Nvidia, so Nvidia is like very fascinating. But
I'm
did
signing
that really
off.
just blow
I'm
your
done
mind?
today. I'm done. Goodbye, guys. It was a
Oh
good
no.
episode.
Oh man, but the Nvidia showcase was super dope. It's easy to forget how much Nvidia kind of does, like
hmm
just in their totality. Yeah, it's super dope. It's super dope. They're the new what is it now? The new graphics cards
Yep.
going crazy.
The new supers,
Which
which they're reasonably priced finally, where pricing's starting to come down after that mining boom, and it just slowly been going back down. So it's really nice to see a solid price point for a brand new graphics card.
are really like almost too solid. The 2020 price gouging thing that happened kind of like made me forget that you could build your own PC for not that much money actually,
No,
if you know what you're doing.
it's crazy because I got the pre built that I have right now. Um, I only got it pre built because it was cheaper to buy this whole PC as a pre built than it was to buy just the graphics card that's in this PC at the time. I have a 3070 in here, and at the time a 3070 was $100 more than this entire pre built. It blew my well. Granted,
And
this
the
was
crazy
also on
part is,
sale, but it blew my mind. I was like, well, I guess I'm
yeah,
buying a
no.
whole new PC.
I mean, yeah, no, for just the graphics card is insane. And then also, we're on to like the 4080, the 4080 supers
Yep.
now, which is but from 2020 to 2024, we're already on the 4080. Insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I granted graphics card generations are quicker than like a console generation, but it still does feel like we're moving quick. I mean, shoot, it's crazy to think that my 30 series graphics card before too long is going to be out of date technically. I mean, it'll still run just fine just like a 1080 does now, but like it it's technically going to be old. And that's wild to
Hmm.
me because like it doesn't feel like it was that long ago when like the 30 series was like the hot hip thing, you know?
It was the state
Um,
of the art. It could run Crisis. It could do
yeah,
everything.
it's crazy. And now the next generation of NVIDIA graphics cards sounds like it's going to have a lot of AI built into it, which is going to let us
Hmm.
kind of go back into some old games, it looks like, with some projects they're doing and add ray tracing to not any game, but it sounds like practically any game where like a modder is proficient enough to do that. It's apparently like way easier. And they showcased
Yeah.
a project with Half Life, and
Hmm.
it now I think they were a little cheeky with how they did it. I think
Hmm. Wait, what makes you
because
say that?
because they did add ray tracing to everything, yes, and that does look phenomenal. They also
Hmm.
retextured a lot of stuff, and when they were showing the
Hmm.
differences, they would be like RTX off, then the thing would go over RTX on, but it's not just RTX though, because all the textures are new, the modeling is new. Like
Yeah,
that's at that
I
point
think they're
almost a
kind of
remaster, remake. Like that's not a remake,
To
but
an
a
extent,
remaster.
but like modders have been doing that since.
Hmm.
Like they've been doing it with Minecraft, probably the best example with
Yeah.
like the photorealistic Minecraft mods. Skyrim, obviously, they showed off Half-Life 2 and Morrowind, which obviously is a huge upgrade, but I don't feel like it's too crazy, especially because Nvidia is also pushing their whole modding. I don't even know what you would call it. I guess library that is
Hmm.
now open and available. Well, is it now open or is that still coming later this
Actually, I don't
January?
remember. That's a good question.
Long story short, it's coming, it's on the way, and we know it's on the way. They've
Mhm.
teased it for a very long time, but now it's easier to do the same thing you've been doing in other games for at least two console generations, like
Mhm.
minimum.
No,
So I think that's kind of what
it's
they were showing off.
it's super awesome. Like I said, the only thing that bothered me was the fact that like if you don't know what they're talking about, you would see
Hmm.
that and go, "Oh, like ray tracing did all of that." When it's like, no, 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 no. Ray
Not
tracing did the
exactly.
lighting, but they
Mm.
retextured stuff, and I think it's just a little misleading when you see that like, oh, RTX on, and it's like, okay, yeah, the lighting's way better, but all of a sudden that paint bucket went from unreadable text to like a whole new model. Like and it moved
Yeah.
and stuff. Like I'm like that to me is no longer just a ray tracing showcase. I just think it was a tad misleading. Doesn't change from the fact that it's extremely exciting. It's an awesome thing they're adding, and I'm so excited to see where we go with it. I shouldn't be complaining, but I just think marketing wise, marketing team at Nvidia, I don't like what you did. That was sneaky.
You think that like they're going over the meetings? Like, listen, like we should have also listed that we retextured like most of everything because the Half-Life 2 models, while futuristic borderline for the time, kind of look like you drew them with a crayon.
Oh yeah,
And
and they did say that eventually. You know, they did say
mhm.
that. It wasn't like it wasn't said, but it was like a quick like and like redone assets or something like that. Which again, if you don't really know much, you're probably not tuning in, but you also like don't know what that means. And
Mhm.
I'm just thinking about people are coming to this later, right? They're seeing like this later, and they're like, "Oh, that's what ray tracing is." And it's like, no,
Sorta, but not really.
yeah, it's just like the lighting, and it don't get me wrong. Again, it looks phenomenal. I'm so excited. I just think
Mhm.
marketing was a little scummy. But that's not
Wow.
that's not on
Okay.
the developers. You know, that's not anyone who made that
It's
code.
not.
Who I did at IT. But anyways, moving on. That's super exciting. Really curious to see what's going to happen there. Samsung is working on a 3D monitor.
Yes, yes. Okay, so check it out. Check it out. Because the way it was explained to me has me very excited because it does the same thing that the 3DS did, where it basically it takes 2D stuff,
Yep.
projects it, makes it look like 3D, except now it's Samsung doing it, and Samsung is better at it because all Samsung does is make impressive technology, and Nintendo has to run a gaming company.
Well,
So
and plus,
now we
like,
have.
you have a lot. Like, first of all, many more years since the 3DS came out. What, 10 years since? Um, and second of all, so that was like the first technology of that. So we had plenty of time to refine
Mhm.
it. And second of all, we also have a lot more room in a monitor for that tech, right? Like a 3DS, they had, I mean, they probably had ribbons running down, but they really just had like a small portion of that whole shell to like add that technology into. I'm sure it's not anything crazy huge, but at least gives you some space to like really run with it and make it done properly. Not that it wasn't done properly with
Sure.
Nintendo, but
Yeah. Oh, one more quick thing that Nvidia showed off. The AI, specifically the NPC advancements in
yo,
AI.
yeah. Uh,
How do you feel about that? Because I'm sure we have slightly different opinions on it.
I think it's really cool, and the implications for it are awesome. Honestly, the what we can do with AI is so cool to think of, and so scary at the same time because it can like
Mhm.
add a lot of things and do a lot of things that humans can't physically do. Such as like it could, for example, it can make up a conversation using sampled voice lines with someone in a game. Like a developer can't be live while you're doing this and like adjust. Like it doesn't that doesn't work, right? So like there's things that wouldn't have been possible before with AI that are really cool, but there's also parts that's going to take away from jobs and stuff like that that isn't as cool. And
For
on
sure.
top
And
of laziness and things like that, we'll lose a little bit of human touch in a
oh
lot of
yeah,
stuff.
definitely. Which is like bittersweet. For those of us who don't know what we're talking about, basically Nvidia showed off NPCs that act like the NPCs from TikTok, but they're actual NPCs. And so you have NPCs acting like people who act like NPCs. And it's kind of crazy because the example they use, basically a guy or the player character, whoever, walks into a diner and it's just like, hey, how are you? It's just like, oh, I'm doing great. I got this new contract for this company. And it's like, oh, okay, that probably just made that up and probably is using sample voice lines. Kind of like in Mission Impossible, where you had to read like the very specific sentences to
Mm-hmm.
get your tone of voice. It's like that, but robots. And yeah, I think it's ultimately probably going to be a very useful tool,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think ultimately um it's not gonna be great for voice actors and people who have to make it. Which I mean, obviously with automation, this is just gonna be a given, and it sucks, and I hate it for everyone involved. But I think the games are gonna be better, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that we're gonna have more in-depth experience. Like imagine just for a second, take Baldur's Gate 3 just for an example, and you just have AI generated conversations and all of first of all of the cutscenes in Baldur's Gate 3, you still haven't played it even though it is on a Game Pass, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
that still the
I
case?
haven't played it yet.
Okay, just know that every time you talk to an NPC and it like does the close up thing, everything's fully animated. Their
Mm-hmm.
mouths move perfectly, their hands move a way that you think they would. So imagine briefly that it was done with AI and how you would probably take a game that took what 3 to 5 years in development, probably cut that down by a considerable percentage. So I know uh AAA game studios everywhere are looking at this and going,
Oh yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, really, companies of every uh, form of like business are looking at AI with like
honestly,
sparkly eyes. Like they're like eye fucking it because they like really like it's gonna save everyone a lot of money, but also lose the commoner a lot of jobs. I mean, here's a great example, right? Literally today, I saw SAG after whatever the technical name is for the
yeah.
writers and actors and stuff. They today was announced that uh, they're going to start using AI instead of voice actors in a lot of games. And
Hmm.
apparently they said that a bunch of voice actors have signed off on this and listed it, and it's caused like a whole thing on the internet where like voice actors are coming out and they're like, no one has agreed to this. We all are against this. No one would agree to this because all it would do is make us lose our jobs. Like the essentially, it's like we'll pay the voice actors for using their voice as a sample, but like you won't get paid for the whole game. You won't get pay, like it's not nearly the same pay. So it's already
Yeah.
starting.
Yeah, and that's a whole other can of worms. That's a whole other thing that hopefully that gets worked out so it's fair. But knowing how corporations kind of do their thing, it's gonna be
It's gonna
some
be
mean
tough.
compromises
Yeah.
in the coming weeks. Yeah, it's gonna be some mean little compromises. Who knows if that's one of them? Maybe. Also the last thing, kind of from CES. Well, I mean, there's a handful of. I mean, it's a bunch of things. You got a cool mouse coming that's
Mm-hmm.
ambidextrous.
Yep.
That looks really fun, but it's not quite as cool as a haptic feedback pad, which I
So
just think is funny.
I think it's funnier than anything. I what's it's smart and dumb because Razer released a gaming chair with haptic feedback built into it already, like a year or
Hmm.
two ago. Like I'm pretty sure you can
Hmm.
still buy it. So it's a little
Probably.
goofy because of that. But what makes this smart at least is that it's a like a chair pad thing. So I could have
Hmm.
my existing chair and just set that on and have that full feedback. Although I don't know how much I want my chair farting into my back. Some people might
Listen,
like that.
have you ever done one of those like 4D experiences? Have you ever done that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it feels like that, and that's fine. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't like how many games do I need to like feel like I'm getting shot in the back? Like how many games do I need to feel the vibration of a car I just stole? Like I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and then there's the whole fact of like how is it accurate? Because like if you're like vibration, like for example, like in a car, is all
Mhm.
around you. It's not just in your back. So like I've had like gaming chairs before that have had vibration in the back. It's not a new thing, but granted, This is way more advanced because it has it in many different spots. I'm sure it's nicer. Yada yada yada. I've had them in the past, and every time it literally just is like, it feels like it's farting on you. It's literally just a vibration on your back. It's like, okay.
And
like,
some people are into that.
And yeah,
but
no different than like some people turn their vibration off on their controllers for playing games. I don't, but some people do because they don't like it. That's fine. What do you think of it?
But yeah. Like, I want it to be cool so bad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want it. I don't want to use it. I don't personally feel like I would get any bonus enjoyment. However, it just seems really funny. Like, it's really funny. It's like who's had this thought of like, I'm playing Modern Warfare 3 online, because apparently the online is really good and the campaigns just sucks. And I'm playing Modern Warfare and it's like, yo, like when my guy gets sniped across the map, like straight into his right titty, like I want to feel that. I want to get touched by a bullet, specifically on my right titty. Like,
and see, at that point, that's like a suit. That's not a chair. Like, you know, they have that like harness thing, that Wooger or whatever it's called. Like, there you would feel it up front, and I think there's a vibration in the back too. Like, I don't know. Like, if I'm gonna I'm all about having feel throughout. Like, I think that's a really cool idea, and I'd love to try something out like that eventually. I don't think we're there yet. I don't want it just in my back. Like, if I get hit up front, I don't want to feel boom back here. Like, that doesn't.
Wow.
You know, like.
Yeah, you just want to jack into the Matrix, and so if you die in the game, you die in real life.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Give me a Ready Player One suit, and I'll be ready.
Yeah, just slip right on into the metaverse. And then, was there anything else for CES that you wanted to give praise to? Because there's a lot of cool stuff.
There's a lot of cool tech stuff, of course. That, I mean, AI's all over. I mean, they're doing AI everything. This is slightly ungaming related, but I mean, it's kind of interesting to see that, like, AI fridges, AI washers and dryers, like shit that does not need fucking AI, shit that doesn't even need to be smart device. They're putting AI, which is interesting.
Don't be technophobic, okay? Like, let all devices be smart.
I am super techie, as you can probably see.
As I can see from.
But
and ladies and gentlemen watching at home, those are just 3 of how many monitors are you working with, AJ?
6. I have
6. I thought it was gonna be 7.
I have the 2 that are behind my camera here. I have these 3.
Behind
well,
me.
that's
Hey,
really
everyone.
just my TV, but I figured I might as well connect it, right? And then
because we might as well, folks.
Right? And then I have in my case here, and I'll turn my camera. I can zoom in on the actual pod. I can slide this out. You can see right here. If I hide that,
the computer,
I have a little screen in there, and I have a little Patrick wallpaper. So.
Oh, there's a Patrick wallpaper.
Oh yeah, I changed it. I have a little Patrick Funko Pop right here.
Oh, we're Patrick Star lovers.
Big time SpongeBob fan. But I just before that I had like all my winter stuff going on here. I had every year for Christmas I have a Funko Pop of Darth Vader as a snowman, and so I just put it in there. It's my holiday decoration for the year. So I decided to switch it up since it's past Christmas.
And so I take it you're gonna get that Samsung 3D monitor at some point.
I would love to. Dude, okay, so this is crazy. We are way off topic at this point, but this is crazy because
we'll bring it back. Don't worry.
None of these monitors or TVs really like all of them have a story behind them. Like, I didn't go out and really buy any of these except for this one, because this was a Black Friday deal. Yep, like these 2 were hammered, and these 2 behind the camera are old monitors. They I don't even think they get 60 frames a second, maybe HD. Like, they are old.
Ooh.
So those are strictly for work, and like this so I can face this way. This I got as like my only Christmas gift for a year from like Combinable in my family. And that was I actually recently got this TV. The last TV I had up was a hand-me-down, and I've had that since like middle school, that TV. And so I decided to upgrade on Black Friday this year to a bigger TV. A nicer one too, much nicer. So a lot of it is like hand-me-down. Like, it's not like I spent a shit ton of money on all of this, but I'm also not that privileged where I got this all for free.
I was just going to say, are you telling me that the podcast money from YouTube hasn't rolled in yet?
Believe it or not, no. The lack of sponsorships might be killing us. along with
Uh,
having only what 5 subs or no, I
Something like
12
that.
subs as of right now. We're on the new platform, so
Something like
12
that.
as the point
It could be. It
of
could be
releasing this.
5. Why not? If it's 12, it might as well be 5. But it could be 100. I'm watching you.
Oh, it's
Like,
going to
comment,
be.
subscribe.
We're going much
Yeah, there we
past.
go.
We're going much
There we go.
past.
But to
Um,
move on, because I'm sure we could talk about monitors for literally the rest of
and
the time.
believe it or not, this is a
Oh,
gaming
and
podcast.
right, it is a gaming podcast. Unfortunately, we got to get back to things that aren't
Yes.
monitors for just a second. Just a second though. We're gonna get back to monitors. Don't worry. Xbox won the gaming console wars this year. And there's been a question of whether or not the console wars are even still going on because Xbox is doing their own thing, Nintendo's doing whatever they want to do.
Mhm.
PlayStation's obviously winning, but is it winning? You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
always those weird things. But now we're in an interesting situation where PlayStation has probably the thinnest lineup it's had since the PlayStation has been the PlayStation. The only thing really coming to the PlayStations just for a limited amount of time is the new Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy Rebirth, and that's great. I don't have
Mhm.
anything against the Final Fantasy remakes. They look really cool. I need to play through all of them in any of them, right? But Xbox, see, here's the thing about Xbox. They do a lot of stuff wrong. Like a lot of stuff wrong. They mess up real big and real bad. But when they get things right, get them really, really right. Like really right.
Yeah.
To the point where they only have 2 games that I consider like actual serious lineups. Because again, bunch of AA releases, bunch of like really interesting indie titles getting distributed. But there are 2 that got me. One is obviously Stalker 2, whatever the tagline for Stalker 2 is, but there's another one called Pal World that comes out in 8 days from when we're recording this. Sorry to date the podcast, but it just has to be said. In about a week, we are going to experience Pokemon with guns, and I don't think the world is ready. I'll just say that out loud. I don't think we're ready.
Oh, dude. I have been looking forward to this game for a long time. I am so hyped for it. Me and my friends are going to play it day one for sure on Game Pass. I am sad that it's only on Xbox and PC. I wish it got a little more love spread around, but honestly, Xbox needs it, so I'm cool with it. Because honestly, like we were talking, you were just talking about the console wars, right? And like, yeah, Xbox and Sony seem really close here in America, but if you go damn near anywhere else in the world, like Xbox is by far the lowest number. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like especially like if you go to like Japan, like it's Sony or Nintendo. Like that's the 2 consoles you have. Xbox, people have Xboxes like I think like in 1% of gamers there. Like it's like no one gives a fuck about it. And so I think that we've always put an emphasis on the console wars and made it this bigger thing than what it really was here in America because everywhere else there wasn't a war. It wasn't even. I think a big push to that is because Microsoft is a big American company, but it's really interesting to see the difference there. I think Microsoft has a good chance of pulling that around and actually getting a better worldwide. What am I trying to think of? Like appearance,
Stretch?
I guess. Yeah, I get. Yeah.
Appearance, yeah.
Just because they're starting to cook and PlayStation's definitely taking a back seat. And I think half the reason why PlayStation is because they have such a strong lead. Kind of in the same vein that Apple does with Android. They let Android makers do all the new features, work out all the kinks, and then Apple then releases a perfected version on theirs. It's the same kind of thing, right? And so I think at this point Sony's kind of taking a backseat because they don't really need to be up in the forefront. PS4 killed the Xbox One. PS5 is beating the Xbox Series X, but I do think that's slowing down. I know we don't have final numbers, but it definitely is.
For sure. And also, here's the thing, okay? Things that drive console sales is usually like 9 times out of 10 exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, new things you can do, like the haptic feedback on the PlayStation 5 controller, need you to understand, made me very, very aroused. I was like, oh my gosh, I aim a gun and it feels different when I aim a small gun versus a bigger gun, and it feels louder. I don't know how to describe it, but it feels louder when you shoot it. And taking that experience and trading it in, because like I told you that I didn't think I was gonna get an Xbox. I felt like I don't know, there's not enough. But Stalker 2 again, which is if you don't know about Stalker, you need to know about Stalker, especially if you consider yourself a gamer. I'm looking at you, Jerry. I see you. And Pal World is Pokemon with guns, which again, if you're a gamer, if you play video games, doesn't that sound cool? AJ, doesn't that sound cool?
Oh, it sounds so cool. And it's not even just like, oh, you throw the Pokemon out and they just have a gun and part of their attack involves guns. No, 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 no. You'll throw your Pokemon out and they work kind of like a companion in Skyrim, where they will do their attacks and you're sitting there with an AR yourself shooting them down. That's so cool, I think. I really
And also,
like
you
that
can
idea.
give your Pokemon guns. You'll be like, hey, thing that looks like an Apom, but clearly isn't an Apom for copyright reasons. Take this gun, and then and then it's just you and your little buddy just shooting at other monsters. And
Yep.
sometimes they eat each other. Sometimes they get hungry. You gotta show them love, and then you can use them to make more guns in your factory. It
And
seems
you can,
really cool. Now, obviously,
sorry, no,
well,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead,
No,
please.
go
I
right
was
ahead.
just I was just gonna say, like, you can make a factory, just little Oompa Loompa monsters making guns for you, probably to sell. I'm assuming to sell, because knowing how the game is set up, it's probably going to be an RPG situation with some type of merchant situation. You could probably sell the guns that you make, that you probably have a little situation on, have a whole little gambit. My point is, it looks really cool, and I gotta see more gameplay, but it looks so good.
I'm so excited. I do think there is some sort of base building or like settlement building aspect
Hmm.
to it. I think you have them help build settlements. I know you can ride them, stuff like that. And you mentioned RPG. I wonder how RPG like it's gonna be, especially since what it's based off of is Pokemon, which is an RPG. Um,
DJ RPG of
yes,
a generation, for sure.
of like all time, one of the biggest media franchise ever is Pokemon. It's insane. But there is, I believe, it's up to 16 people in one world, or 19 people in one world. So, or it might be 20. It's like you and 19 other friends. I read 19 at one point. So I know that like
19 is involved.
so it might be 20, but either way, like you can have pretty much all your friends in one world too. So it seems like it has a bit of like arc survival kind of like, maybe
Yeah,
not
like
quite
MMO,
random
like,
people, but like, yeah, you work together, build a little base, get resources, but Pokemon with guns. I think that's fucking awesome.
it's a really great idea. It makes me wonder why there aren't more games kind of like it, right? And then this is a minor sidetrack, but Pokemon's really cool. Digimon is great. It's just not as cool as Pokemon. And just
Mhm.
it is what it is. Sorry, all my Digimon fans out there. But yeah, no, I'm excited. Plus Stalker 2. Plus, like, and then here you go. This the thing. You were trying to convince me to get Game Pass, and it might happen. But I know for sure I'm probably gonna end up getting an Xbox to play. Game Pass will probably be there, but
Mhm.
definitely Stalker 2. It just looks real good, and then obviously Power World. And yeah, I think right now, if you get an Xbox and you get Game Pass, that is probably the best deal in gaming.
Yeah.
Um,
I hate it though. I think Game Pass is a very bad thing for us going forward.
oh wow,
And here's why.
you got
Right
real
now,
serious there.
I'm very serious about this subject, honestly, because like right now, it's great. It's phenomenal. I pay for it, and I hate that I pay for it, but I pay for it. Um, the problem is I think companies are moving towards, and Alan Wake 2 is a really good example of this, digital only streaming services, just like TV is. And the real scary thing with that, besides losing just physical media for preservation, both these points are for preservation. They can once we're all only on Game Pass and like all of that, you can't really buy individual games. Like it's just streaming. If they take a game off the store, it's gone. Like you don't get to play it anymore. You never owned it, and if it's gone, if it's permanently gone, if they never release it, it is gone. Like no one can save that and archive it online. Nothing. It is permanently gone. And where we're sitting at right now, it's around like 83% of all games ever made, which of course a large percentage of that 83% are garbage. But 83% of games, all games that have ever been made, are completely unplayable right now. Like there's no way to find it. There's no way to play it. It's gone. And that is only going to grow as these streaming services grow in gaming. So it is. I think it's really bad for the future, but right now it's such a phenomenal deal. It's hard to turn down.
And then I don't know if you saw this. PlayStation actually just had a huge announcement. Basically, okay, let's walk this back. Let's talk about consumer rights, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone's favorite topic. When you buy a copy of a game, when you get a copy of Watch Dogs 2, and you got your disc, you install it, load it up, play it. Um, that physical disc is a license to play the game. It's technically not buying it, but you're paying for the permanent access to it when you get a physical thing, right? And so that extends to digital media as well. You have the license to play it, not necessarily the fact that you own it, but you have the license to play it as many times as you want. And Sony just had to make an announcement. They're cutting a bunch of stuff that was exclusively on Discovery and Warner Brothers, specifically like Mythbusters was like a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because of licensing issues between Sony and whichever company it is, it could be Discovery, Warner Brothers, could be some man that owns a lot of things and lives in a well, okay? Between these disagreements, it's just gonna be deleted from your library. So even though you paid your 20, 30, $40 for every season of Mythbusters because you have a problem, no one should buy Mythbusters by itself. It always comes as a package deal. Yeah, you just can't watch it. Sorry.
Yeah, and here's the thing. That is the start of it, I think. What's to say that's going to stop
Ooh.
at video games down the road? They just did that with TV, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. They do that with a video game. What are you going to do about it? Like, nothing. There's nothing you can do. So I mean, even right now, you buy a digital game. You fairly own that license. Let's say something happens and you lose access to your account. You're fucked. I mean, now if you own the disc,
Cities,
you're not. You're not if you own the disc. And so that's why I think moving to an all digital like gaming space is very scary. And I am not about it, but I know it's the future.
Okay, so this is a real random side thing. We can get to the next topic, which is Xbox kind of unbeatable this year? But quick thing, Baldur's Gate 3, Game of the Year last year, as presented by Timothy Chalamet. It actually has a physical edition, so you can actually own a physical copy of Baldur's Gate 3, which didn't exist when I got it when it first came out. but there's no physical copy of Alan Wake 2, and so I'm just gonna have to get a poster and frame it.
Yeah, see, that's like, it's really disappointing to see that. And really, I have a feeling what's going to happen, unless the next generation of consoles is only digital, which wouldn't surprise me, I have a feeling that next generation is going to be, hey, as your pre-order bonus or like deluxe edition, you also get the physical disc with your order.
So here's the thing. Let's talk about the next console generation because I think you may be onto something. Because an analyst has said that the Switch 2 is coming this winter. This should not be a surprise to literally anyone.
Even
Really
the
anyone.
BBC has reported on it at this point. Like, everyone freaking knows about that. Like, that's not news.
Everyone knows about it, including people who watch the BBC, which is everyone not in America. Yeah. This is kind of the only thing that I see kind of taking some wind out of Xbox's sales. And granted, maybe Xbox just needs a win. Maybe Xbox just needs a handful of slam dunks. One of them hopefully will be Pal World. I don't know. It could just be one of those things that come and go, like Cube World. We all remember Cube World, this game that nobody remembers apparently. Oh, you remember Cube World? Okay, that's one of us. Hell yeah. I'll high five you through the camera. But yeah, the Switch 2, which would then start console generation a little early, right? The new console generation, because we're coming up on, I believe, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series about 5 years into their life cycle. Granted, for like,
and you're right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but Nintendo has been on their own like console schedule since like GameCube.
Yeah,
they released it like a year prior, a year after. I think it's a year prior for GameCube. And then, like, Wii was literally just smack dab in the middle of the console, like, the generation. Wii U was, like, again, just right in the middle of PS3 and Xbox, like, just threw that shit out there. Like, it's just, like, Switch came in 2017, PS4 came in 2014. Again, like, halfway through. So Nintendo just does whatever the fuck they want to do, and I love it.
They do, and here's the thing. I think the Switch is probably the longest they've gone of just, like, just kind of keeping pace, not really trying to rush or slow down anything, but just keeping pace. And to be completely honest, the Switch 2's hardware is more impressive than maybe we gave it credit for, because the fact that it's still running Hogwarts Legacy, granted, it kind of looks like you're playing as cardboard cutouts, but it can run Hogwarts Legacy, Batman Arkham City, where you play as Rob Bat and Bat. What else? What else? It can run it. My point
Witcher
is, it can run
3,
an impressive
that's
game.
that's a wild game for a Switch to
Got
run.
The Witcher 3. Yeah, yeah. Because the Switch is roughly as powerful as the Xbox 360. I know, I know. But we're on to the PlayStation 5 and all these great things. An Xbox 360 that can fit on a tablet is crazy.
Well, like think about that. Like
Hard stop.
Xbox, it is an Xbox 360 running Hogwarts Legacy. Just think about that for a second. Like that doesn't even compute. That doesn't make sense. And so, yeah, no, it's crazy, and that's why it's like almost a miracle to this day when you see Switch ports still. Like at first it was like, oh, that's neat, that's awesome, they put in the extra effort, and now it's like, whoa, if it's not a cloud version, they do so many fucking cloud versions, but again, it's really hard now because games only getting bigger and the Switch is only getting older.
Only getting older. And even with like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, everyone was like, the only thing that detracts from the experience is the fact that the Switch sometimes has frame drops when it shouldn't have frame drops, when it's a game tailored to the hardware of the Switch from the company that made the Switch. But we're thinking this Christmas we're gonna see a new console generation that allegedly, because console, like not a console, Nintendo likes to lie about console news and facts that we know, like the fact that there are several developers with developer kits right now making your Switch 2 experience the best it could be right now. And so yeah, I'm thinking the Switch 2 is the only thing that'll slow down Xbox in their situation, because if and this is a big if we get a game like a brand new 3D Mario that's been rumored, if we're getting a game like a Red Steel 3 or something just insane that nobody was expecting, I think Nintendo might come out on top for the first time. Well, not the first time, but for one of the first times in a very long time.
In a very, very long time. I mean, pretty much since Nintendo 64. I mean, don't get me wrong, they struck gold with the Wii, but that's because it had, like, a really strong gimmick. And it's even harder,
And
like...
it was in the middle of the whole gimmick.
It's
The Connect of the PlayStation Move.
well,
Yeah,
it started all of that, too. It was not long after that, then Xbox, and that's where Xbox started to go downhill. Because, believe it or not, in the Xbox 360 and PS3 era, PS3 beat Xbox 360. Even though most people will be like, hard stop, Xbox 360 won that. No, because in the second half, Xbox started focusing on the Kinect, and no one gave a fuck about it like 2 months in because it sucked. And then at the same time, PlayStation was slashing prices, like cutting PlayStations down like half off, and then they decided to release The Last of Us on top of it all. And then they really put Xbox in the coffin when they dropped the PS4 that didn't require you to be online like Xbox, like had all these perks and had these exclusives coming, and Xbox had nothing coming. I mean, they were destined.
they had
for
Dead
failure.
Rising 3. Are we gonna disrespect Dead Rising? I'm sorry. Let me say it with a straight face. Are we gonna disrespect Dead Rising 3 of all the games?
So they
disrespect on this podcast. Sunset Overdrive, that's literally the saving grace of the Xbox.
I'd say, yeah, they had Sunset Overdrive. That was it. That was it. And so, I mean, fuck, I was more interested in Knack than half the games that Xbox was showing. They really fell apart. But then going into this generation, it's kind of like it's kind of a reverse where Sony, it feels like, is kind of sitting back. They're like, all right, we've won. We're going to sit back, and Xbox is now kind of trying to build the steam. And again, it really sucks for them that Starfield didn't work out, because that was going to be their, like, beginning drive, and then Stalker 2, Pal World, all these other games are going to be just nice add-ons to this, like, juggernaut that was supposed to be Starfield.
See, okay, here's the thing. Here's a hot take. Are you ready for this hot take? Obsidian, the people who made, we all know, say it with me, Fallout New Vegas, are working on Avowed. And if Avowed is anything like Fallout New Vegas, that might put it over the edge. Be like, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let me double check. Let me double check to see when Avowed is allegedly supposed to drop. Right, this year.
Okay.
So we have Stalker 2, which again looks great. Avowed, which we haven't seen a lot of, but if we see more of and it looks a lot like Fallout New Vegas, I might just faint right there. And also Pal World, which is probably like, if I had to guess, because I'm not positive who this team is behind Pal World, I'm not gonna call them an indie studio, just in case they're not, but it feels like an indie game. The
Mm-hmm.
indie game idea for sure.
Yeah.
So this could win indie game of the year. It might be bigger than any of us are expecting. Win game of the year. Stalker 2 probably has it, if not Pal World. And yeah, Avowed might have it. Honestly, that might be the sneaker hit.
Well,
But
again,
sneaker hit, sleep.
keep in mind, and that might be a sleeper hit. Keep in mind, we still have a whole year of announcements slash games to drop, because there's plenty of games that will get announced this year that will also drop this year. I mean, what if Nintendo in a month or two announces the Switch 2 and it's like, hey, this, I don't know, this summer or some shit. I'm just throwing something out there. It doesn't make too much sense. But this summer, it's coming out, and here are 8 launch title games. Right there, there's 8 competing games that we don't know about right now. I know, like you said, 3D Mario's rumored. Mario Kart is rumored. I think
If there's a new Nintendo console, there's gonna be a new Smash.
I'm curious to see if that will be on launch or not. I feel like that'll be a delay.
Probably won't be. It probably won't be. It might be. They usually release Smash games towards the top of the year, and then like by Christmas next year, everybody's playing it.
See,
But
I'm
yeah,
curious because Sakurai previously said he was done, and it's his baby, his company. I'm pretty sure partly owns it or something like that. Kind of like how like the Pokemon company works. There's multiple hands in that pie. So I don't know if they like can without his approval. If they could continue without his approval, I don't know. I mean, I know they can port Ultimate regardless of whatever. Like they can port that whenever. So I don't know. I've talked to us a few times. What I really think that they could do, and this is again we're going so off topic today. What they could do.
Oh, we're not. Keep going.
What they could do with the new Smash, I think they add more people. It's gonna get too overwhelming. I think it's already overwhelming, especially for new players. You look at that roster and you're like,
100%.
like it's it like I've tried to get a few friends into it and they're like, I don't want to have to learn all these characters' moves to know how to counter them. Like that's valid. That's super valid. That sounds like a chore.
Like what, 60 plus characters?
70 something. Yeah, it's
70 something. Oh yeah, with the DLC is like 70 something.
Yeah, it's intimidating. So I think the next game, slim down the roster, cut down to people you need. And I'm talking extras too. Like Sonic. Okay, we need that's representation. Like Banjo-Kazooie, we should keep him. But like Kazuya, we could probably cut him. We have fighting representation.
How
with
dare
Ryu.
you? Are you telling me I don't need to play as Cloud from Final Fantasy VII?
Cloud,
Who is one of the better characters in the game?
Yeah, I would argue keeping Cloud, but
better.
Sephiroth, I don't think we also need him. We could probably drop him.
How dare you?
I know, but and then what they should do is go back and redo all these movesets, especially the characters from 64. And I'm not at all the first person to say this idea, but I think it's phenomenal. Like if you go back and look at like the Smash Bros. 64's characters' moves in Ultimate, they barely changed. Like Link is pretty much the most basic sword fighter ever, but then if you look at a DLC person like Joker, like there's so much fanfare and love. Or Hero has all of his fucking spells, but Link only has his bomb out of all the tools across all the games. Are you kidding me? Mario doesn't have any signature stuff besides Flood, and he has his Cappy on a taunt. Why isn't Cappy part of his moves? Like it's just like wild when you compare like OG Nintendo, big Nintendo characters, and they have zero fan service, but then these like third party people like Ken from not Street Fighter, was it King of Fighters or something like that?
Was that not Street Fighter?
Or no, not Ken. Ken is Street Fighter. I'm thinking Terry from
Terry, got it.
King of the Fighters or whatever. Like they gave him so much fan service, gave him custom moves, all this stuff, and it's just like, where is that for the classic characters? So I think we need to retool all those guys for the next one and slim down the roster a bit, make it focus, and give us a campaign.
It sounds like we're getting a new Smash, whether or not Sakurai wants to or not. And here's the thing. You're not the only person saying this. You're probably not the loudest voice saying this. So yeah, I feel like Nintendo, because here's the thing. Nintendo listens. They act like they don't hear shit, but they listen, and they listen well. So I'm sure that at some point we're gonna get like Smash Brothers Dynasty or something, Smash Brothers Finale, something real dramatic with a title, and it's probably going to do a lot of what you said. They're probably not going to cut back on the roster. If anything, they might bump it to 100 characters and then just play as a random guy on the street. Like, that would be really funny. Like, they fall into... That's, like, who your, like, protagonist is. Someone who literally just fell off the street into the Smash Brothers fan fiction.
Literally, you're me. You could just have it be your me.
It could be a me. It could be, like, a custom me that you make just for the campaign. And they, like, literally just walk through the wrong door and just fall in. And Kirby's just like... And like they start flying on stars and shit, and he's like right? Yeah, that could be really hilarious. So yeah, it sounds like we're getting a new Smash. Apart from a new Smash, okay. Quick thing, probably the last question I'll have for this podcast. Nintendo, if they pulled an old series out of the woodwork and just kind of retooled it, kind of like what we're seeing Sega do right now. What would you want to see, right? Because I have such fond memories of NBA Street Volume 3 on my GameCube that if they just did a remaster, a remake, an NBA Street remake, and just call it whatever you want, and then just make it a Switch exclusive, I think a lot of people would shake.
Oh yeah, I for one would be pretty horny. I think that'd be a phenomenal idea.
Exactly. Give AJ what he wants.
Exactly. I deserve everything I'm demanding. No.
Twice over.
Yeah, damn right. Better be sorry for not getting it to me quicker.
I'm saying. Didn't even know I wanted it until just now. You should have known before I wanted it.
Yeah, I need you guys to be mind readers. Let's go.
Come on, Nintendo. Jesus, what are you doing over there?
But I think last kind of topic here for today. Now that we talked about Switch and Nintendo's part in the console wars, what is stopping Xbox this year? Because they're on a roll, and how can Sony catch up? You know, how can we get this from like here and here to about here, you know?
So I feel like whatever Nintendo decides to do, because you got to understand, they haven't really done much in 7 years. They made the Switch, made their money, dropped like not even that many really cool exclusives. We got the new Animal Crossing, we got the new Smash, we got obviously 2 new Zeldas. But like...
The Pokemons have been mediocre. Arceus was hype.
Pokemons haven't been that great. We've gotten a handful of cool Mario games. Mario Odyssey, pretty cool. Cannot deny.
Banger.
But... when we kind of just consider that Nintendo does what they want, I think whatever they do is going to be big, and unfortunately, whatever they do works. Even the Wii U was like considered a failure, but that's because it didn't like surpass the regular Wii. Like it was still like a moderate success.
Well, and the thing is like I think it would have done better if people developers utilized the controller, right? Like, it's really unique, but the problem with that is if you make a game around that, then that game is only on Wii U, you know, and that's that's a big risk to take for developers. It's kind of the same thing with, like, Sony's controller, right? It's not nearly as, like, unique as that, but a lot of people aren't doing all that cool haptic stuff, all the vibrations, all that stuff, because I can't take that over to PC versions, to Xbox versions, to Switch versions, so... Putting all the time into that for just one version of the game isn't worth it. And it's going to be the same thing with that guy. It's a great idea. I think it could have, if developers did it right, it could have been the coolest console ever.
Arguably was.
Yeah, the concept is awesome. And the thing is, I wouldn't trade anything for this, because without that, we wouldn't have this guy. Because the idea... went from there, because what's really cool about the Wii U also is you can play that in just the handheld mode. Granted, you have to be on the same Wi-Fi, like in the same range as the Wii U, but someone could watch TV and you could just play your game right here. And so that idea started there and evolved into the Switch. So I wouldn't trade the Wii U for anything, you know.
No, the Wii U was a very valuable lesson. And then I think if the Wii U didn't happen, Nintendo wouldn't have been so careful with the Switch, because call it what you want, they've been careful.
Hmm.
They have been very conservative with everything, every move they did with the Switch, everything, every peripheral they added. It was just like very measured and very just like, we're gonna do this way, we're gonna see if it works. Okay, it's okay, we're gonna move to this, we're gonna move in this direction. Been very careful. So I think they're probably gonna do that with whatever is gonna come out this Christmas. It's probably not gonna be called the Switch 2. Might be called the Switch Boogaloo. Who knows? But what I could probably say is, as far as Sony and them getting better, again, this is just a guy with a podcast, so obviously I know exactly what I'm talking about. Sony. Um, let's pivot focus from The Last of Us. Naughty Dog has told us that they're working on things that aren't The Last of Us, which,
Good.
but there are, like, remember when Uncharted would come out and that was like their realistic game, and didn't Uncharted come out the same year as Little Big Planet? It's or like around the same time?
Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense.
Right? It was right around the
Yeah.
same time in that PS3 era where like
Yeah.
the PS3 was like, oh, we like indies too. And then like Little Big Planet came, and same year as Uncharted.
Another banger
And
of
then
a game.
obviously later we got the several bangers of game. Then later, obviously, we got The Last of Us, and then PS4 got more Uncharted. But
Mhm.
the point is, we need like something. Like, here's the thing. Check it out. Check it out. I think this is a hot take. Sony, listen very carefully. This is what you need to do right now, like yesterday. I think you guys should pull an Xbox or a Microsoft, and maybe not acquire $69 billion worth of studios. I'm not saying you need that many, but maybe you can acquire one, two, and just give us just one big open. Give us a Forspoken that isn't Forspoken. I think that's what, like, if they made a third Infamous game and like a whole new chapter and like a whole new world and like, oh yeah, fourth. That's right. They did make Infamous 2. Infamous 2 Second Son. There it goes. Fourth. Thank you, AJ. They made a
Mhm.
fourth Infamous game. I think they would be in contention for Game of the Year. They would probably win all type of awards and break all types of records. I think Sony needs to pivot from The Last of Us and do something else.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, but
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to fact check you for a second. It
Ooh,
wasn't
come on, talk to
Naughty
me.
Dog that made Infamous. It was Sucker Punch.
Right. What is Sucker Punch?
Sucker Punch made Ghost of Tsushima most recently, and they are working on Ghost
Oh,
of Tsushima 2, they said.
yeah.
And in
That's
even
right.
worse news, because I am a massive Infamous fan, they said never say never, but they have zero plans to do anything Infamous.
Maybe you just need to pitch them the right idea. Maybe we could just do a whole episode of just pitching developers games that they didn't ask for anyone to pitch
Let's
them.
do it.
Maybe
Let's
that's
do it.
all right. Bet. I'll draw up some ideas.
Next week, here we go, guys. We'll see you next week. We'll drop some ideas,
And we're
and
gonna pitch it.
we're gonna pitch it. We're gonna pitch some developers.
Yeah. Okay. Time out. Real quick. Time out. Let's say. Okay. What? Who you gonna pitch to? I'm just curious.
Hey, that's for next week. We'll talk about it.
Okay. I'm
Slow
sorry.
your
I'm sorry.
roll.
Sure.
Gotta leave, a little suspense for the audience.
Fuck that. Tell everybody.
Anyways, so what you think really just bringing back? Do you think bringing back old IPs or making new ones is really what's gonna help PlayStation then?
I think making new IPs, just kind of watering the seed, and then bringing back a handful of old ones. Like a new Sly Cooper game right now, people would shit bricks.
Dude,
Right? Like if that came out right now,
it could be so good, I think, because like, yes, your original development team that made that is probably gone for the most part, or execs, right? That's cool. You have people working there right now that played these games as children that I guarantee you would be very passionate behind it and make a very good game. And so I think games like that, like Spyro, Crash, I just think they have a very good chance and opportunity to come back with this new fresh set of eyes on them. But at the same time, I feel like we've been really focused on remakes, ports, all this stuff of like old IPs that we haven't been making enough new IPs. So I do agree. I think new IPs is really the way to go. We need to take a few more risks, and I know that's scary, but it really like one of my favorite games of the PS4 era, for example. Small game didn't do well. Gravity Rush, absolutely phenomenal game. Not too popular, but I think it's a must play for PlayStation fans. I truly do.
Yeah, Gravity Rush is really great. Wasn't it a PlayStation Vita
PSP,
or a
PSP
PSP? It was a PSP exclusive first, and then they moved it to console, and everybody was like, "This is
remastered.
actually really cool."
Yeah, no, it's an absolute phenomenal game, and it's like stuff like that where it's like that was so unique and awesome, and it didn't need to be this AAA game. Don't make it. Let's have a mix, like we said. And so I think that's really what's going to help them is pushing new IPs, and I think Xbox honestly is going to need to do the same thing to keep up. Nintendo is not going to do that because Nintendo is Nintendo. They are fine. They do one new IP.
Yeah, they do what they want, and it
about
works.
every generation. They do one IP about every generation. They did Splatoon on Wii U. They had ARMS on Switch that failed miserably. We'll see what they do on the next one, but it's... And by the way, something really interesting I forgot to say about that earlier. Nintendo, since the GameCube, every other console has either been a success or a flop. GameCube, flop. Although now it's a success looking back on it. Like, people are enjoying it more nowadays.
it became a cult
like,
classic.
nowadays, it's a success, yeah. But back then, no.
Yeah.
But then you had the Wii. Massive success. Wii U. Flop. Switch. Massive success. So I'm really nervous about this next generation that it's not going to be a whole lot. It's not going to be too crazy. But we'll see.
So, I mean, there are reports that this new mystery Nintendo baby is going to have an LCD screen and not an OLED screen right out the box. Why? I don't know. But even if it's just a more powerful Switch, I feel in my heart people are going to be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's all we really want at the end of the day. Like, if the Switch was as powerful as a PlayStation 4, maybe not even that, as an Xbox One, we wouldn't have any complaints, I don't think.
And that's the rumor for this next one. It is. The only thing I'm nervous about, and it always helps that Nintendo has their exclusives that are forever only going to be on Nintendo consoles. So Nintendo fans like myself will always buy the new console because, well, I want to play Mario. But
You don't want to play Mario versus Sonic?
oh, I'm playing both. Don't you worry. But I'm just really nervous that first of all they're gonna take a back seat like they did. Honestly, kind of with the Switch in the later half, like they've just like ported a lot of stuff and not made a whole lot of new big games, and I think a lot of it's lined up for the next one. But two, they're like, if all they do is upgrade the hardware, the portable console market at this point is very saturated. We're borderline oversaturated. I mean, another CES thing. MSI just announced they're making one to compete against the Steam Deck, and its whole thing is that the battery lasts a super long time, and it's pretty cool. Like, temperature-wise. Yeah, it is neat.
Okay.
But temperature-wise, it's cool. And so, like, that's just known, but, like, GeForce has their own. Logitech has one. Like, everyone's starting to make one. Steam Deck has one. PlayStation has one now. Like, I mean, it's becoming really... And that's to credit the Switch, because the Switch started all of that. Without the Switch, all that wouldn't have happened, but it's becoming pretty saturated. So I'm thinking it's not going to have the same boom if they just upgrade the hardware. Because if you just want a portable console, Steam Deck's a lot better of a deal. Because you have games for both Xbox and PlayStation and Steam's library. And it's more powerful. It can boot Windows really easily and legally. Therefore you can get Xbox Game Pass on it. Like, all these things, you can get any streaming service. Switch only has Hulu and YouTube, and I think Funimation, if that's still even a thing. So, like, I guess that's just my point, is, like, if you're not a Nintendo fan, why wouldn't you just get a Steam Deck then?
Yeah. I mean, but if you're getting a Steam Deck, then you're probably getting a PC. Like, see, like, that becomes a thing, because the only thing Nintendo has going for it is that there are IP that caters to children who are more likely to like tablets versus TVs, and that's a whole other conversation we can get into. But I
Yeah.
think that Nintendo is almost banking on an IP in a way that we don't see anymore. And like that used to be the thing. That used to be like, yeah, I'm getting PlayStation because I want to play the new God of War because we know that there's a new God of War
Yeah.
coming. I want to play Xbox because I'm a masochist. It's just how it's been. So
And
I
like,
think making on the IP was working. So
yeah, no, and that is Nintendo's thing, is, and it's especially because they have multiple IPs that are just there. It's not in companies they bought that could potentially be bought out by someone else. Like, it is, like, Mario is theirs just the same as Mickey is Disney's. Like, you know, like, so I think there's always going to be, again, people like me who will always buy their consoles because I want to play those games, and they're banking on that. But in today's society, exclusives still have a very strong spot in the pantheon of gaming, and especially in the console wars. But I think one of the biggest factors since the PS3 and Xbox 360 era has been, what are your friends playing? You know, if
yeah,
you know, back in the PS4 and Xbox One era, if most of my friends got an Xbox One, I would have gotten one too,
getting
because
Xbox One.
I'm mainly playing with them more than nowadays. Actually, I'm more playing by myself because I think most multiplayer games are kind of garbage now. Not all, but I think most.
That's the percentage of them.
Yes, well, I'm talking like multiplayer focus, like not talking if co-op's an option. I'm talking like multiplayers are focused. They all feel generic, whatever. A lot of them feel copy and paste, but that's for a different podcast. It's just, I think, really that's the biggest factor, is what are your friends playing? And since most people are playing PlayStation still and have those accounts, I think that's why Sony's kind of taking that back seat, because they know single player isn't as important. I think it's making a resurgence, but they know it's not as important.
Of course. And then obviously this is just like the obvious tit for tat stuff. We're not even talking about the real serious behind the scenes stuff where like Xbox probably isn't gonna drop another cross platform Call of Duty. Like at least not it's probably not happening.
I think they have to. I think they have to.
I think they gotta do it for one, and I think it was this past one. I think.
I thought the like court ruled they have to. Because Sony like came out and was like, we're like, because they were like suing them, they're like, we're hosed if you do that, because Call of Duty is like a third of our revenue or something like that. They're like, we can't afford to lose that. It was like,
ooh, okay,
yeah, it was talking like monopolies almost. Like, it was like, you can't do this.
So, oh, this is interesting. Microsoft has committed in writing, in public and in court, to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for 10 years on parity with Xbox. So they got 10 years.
They had 10 years. Again, because it's that big. Like, it literally was like, we might not be able to sustain PlayStation without Call of Duty kind of thing. I'm sure they can.
Probably.
But, like, I mean, it's like...
I'm sure they could.
It's somewhere around, like, a third of their revenue for PlayStation. Like, that's a gross amount. Because think about how many people have a PlayStation just to get every Call of Duty game. Just that's just their game. That's all they play. Just like, you know, there's some people that get just EA games. They just get sports games. They play football and that's it. Like that's their jam. You know, that's like, even though us hardcore gamers don't really acknowledge that side too much because there's not a lot of fun conversation there, that's a massive market share for these companies that can't go understated.
100%. Yeah, 100%. 10 years, that's a long time. We probably would have moved on from Call of Duty. Well,
Call of Duty's going to be dead, I think, by then. But then I say that, and a third of the revenue goes to Call of Duty, so probably not. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Who knows? We don't. This is just a mediocre podcast full of mediocre gamers. Shout out to the mediocre fam. It's good to be back. We missed y'all. We talked about y'all a lot when you weren't here to hear us. We talked about you a bunch. Yes. Hey, is there anything else you want to tell the people? I think I'm out of things I want to tell the people.
Yeah, I'm out. This has been a long and good podcast. I gotta say, thank you guys for sticking with us. I hope you enjoy the new platform. We plan on bringing you a ass load of content between podcasts and some other things we have in the works. And so I'm really excited to share that with you guys. This is going to be a really fun adventure, and I am expecting to grow at a very good and healthy rate. And so until then, As always, it's awesome talking to you guys. I look forward to talking to you next week. Stay mediocre.
Stay mediocre. Hell yeah.